Yeah, guys, another key for what it's worth, but you know, my item level can't. With my item level, I can't afford actually much bigger than this now. Soon enough, several more items and it's really better. But for now, let's just go with this and let's go. Get out like a week. Okay. I'm walking haste now. That's so crucial for my performance, so I hope you enjoy this. I will be talking so much because early in the morning and I'm still a little bit. I actually woke up for several hours, but I had some work, so I've been doing it. It's my birthday today, by the way. I won't be actually making the party today. Won't be exactly celebrating today, but it's not my actual birthday, so 22nd May. Because you won't be watching this on this exact day, most probably. But anyway, that is not important. I have decided to make a dungeon. I can afford it. I can relax a little bit on the day, you know, an entrepreneur with two businesses. And moving the second one. Still moving the second one. It's not going dramatically well. It's not so bad either, but there are so many things to be upgraded. I don't have an actual staff there. It's a family business and that's taking some serious effort for me to try to organize it. Practically, I have my best business projects. They are not in my main business, but my best business projects, so they are usually around a year, lasting around a year. Have all been with friends actually wanting to do something together, and sometimes we have made like, I don't know, maybe 6 figures in like less than half a year, for example, which is significant amount of money, especially for the Bulgarian standard. And this is not a main job, it's a side project, side business. So it has been not only that, but it has been a lot of fun. It's always going, let's say, the right way. Of course, there are problematic moments. Of course, we are from time to time arguing, fighting, even if you want to, with each other, but nothing so dramatic. It's always good, it's always working out, but family, guys, it is like it shall be the other way around. I always thought that working with family will be even more like prosperous, especially if your family is family members at in this point are adequate and intelligent people qualified for the job, but it's not exactly like that. I don't know the exact reason why is that happening, but the family business for some reason doesn't work very well. And in this particular scenario, I can actually understand why, but let me tell you something. I have observed many cases in which the family business, if it's not a very old business, like your grandfather and grandmother and their like the people on their age didn't start it, very often it doesn't work very well. It's strange, it's weird, it doesn't make much sense, but I have observed many of those businesses. Usually they're actually working better than my second business, no? Our family business. A little bit better. But they're usually not much profitable. Best case, their profits are just low. It's like it's going slower by somehow, even if it's a main business. But in generations actually, it becomes very much better, and all of the people that have businesses for like, for example, 3 generations are at least millionaires. Have more than 1 million in their bank accounts, like not per family but per person from this business, participant in this business. So practically, as families, they are multimillionaires, at least small multimillionaires, which is like you can live with that. You don't have to really worry about money like most of the people do. But I can say I'm reaching that level, but still I'm not so, let's say, calm about it. I still don't think I can afford to, for example, start writing now, big time, trying to, like, it will still feel like a side hustle, and I wanna make it possible to write while having enough money and having enough income at the very same moment to do that as even to skill, of course, in writing, to do that as a main job, and to focus on that. So the other businesses and the other stuff I'm doing in life would feel like a side hustle, but still I can't afford that. Most probably I can, but my income will decrease, and I don't want that for me and my family. And yeah, I can tell you, because it's like, I think that those are the most important moments in life when you are making those decisions. I can tell you, let's start from there. If you don't make business now, it's like many people will tell you that, many won't tell you that, because we're like, you can see policy is pretending that it's actually focusing on social politics, but it's the other way around. The capitalistic society is growing even more and more, which is, I would say, more good than bad, but you can decide that anyway it's happening like that. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad or neutral, but it's going like that, and the rich people are getting richer, and the poor people are losing their chances now. If you don't act accordingly to that, most probably your kids, that's not something that is actually like, we don't have to even, there's no need for a dialogue in this. It's a sure thing. It's happening already. We can observe this. We have seen that happening in all of the continents, especially in America, for example. The people living in their cars. It's like, of course, America is the best continent to live in still, and it will be. Europe is actually suffering financially, so Asia, maybe Japan. Maybe Japan has a very nice economy, but they got, let's say they got other problems. But yeah, Japan is an option, but we're not discussing that now. Where is the best place to live? Economically, most of the continents are suffering. North America is still the best place to live in, I think, by far. But you can also see how many people there are actually suffering, are actually homeless. They are living in their cars. They're literally financially suffering. They can't afford to live a normal life. So many other people are just poor. They can't actually pay their interests and live a normal life. They have to choose between necessary things. And I would say it's a very interesting time we are living in, and it will go worse before it goes better for in social terms, if you ask me. That's pretty. I'm pretty sure about it. It's not like it's set in stone. If you ask me, it's not something that's actually arguable. You can't actually. There's nothing that there's no argument against it. It's just going that way, and you can be sure that if you don't act accordingly, if you don't make your business now, if you don't secure your future and the future of your kids and grandchildren, even if you want to, it's going like that. They most probably will continue suffering financially, and if they're not geniuses, which can happen from time to time, like one in several tens of thousands, people will be a genius, okay? If you actually are counting on that, okay, but it's like a lottery. It can happen if you are if both parents are intelligent. For example, I hope my daughter, still not born, will be very intelligent. I hope that this happens, but you can't depend on that. You understand? It's like you have to be literally putting your points, so to speak, depending on factors that are more sure, that can be changed in a split second. I understand that wealth is something that can be lost, but let's be realistic. If you are rich enough, losing your main, like, let's say, most of your wealth it's almost impossible nowadays. You can lose money, but you still will be rich. Like, you still have some millions, literally keeping you safe, keeping you from misery. It's not so easy to fall if you are rich. You have to literally get addicted to something that's very expensive, and at the very same time you're doing it like full time. It's like it's not so easy to fall if you're rich, and it's also you literally will get a coach, you will get a person to help you, even if you get addicted to, for example, worst case scenario maybe is gambling. Gambling is a very interesting animal. You can always get broken from, if you get addicted to gambling, unreasonable amount of money, Gambling is for the rich people to have some fun and to risk it. It's actually, you're paying actually for the risk. You don't actually expect to win from gambling. That's not the reason people are gambling. It's not the main reason of gambling. It's just about the risking some of your wealth, being able to afford to lose much money. And that's like the reason that people gambling are actually like the successful gamblers, even most of them, except some mathematicians. But the system doesn't work like that. It's against the people. Most of the things are rigged, and even if they are not, the winning percentage is so low that you can be sure with let's say fair play, you won't be winning from gambling. So anyway, that's maybe the worst case scenario, but still it won't be so fast, and you have time to regenerate, to heal yourself from that addiction, even if that happens, and you can by somehow control it to a certain point. But that's the only way for if you are coming from a very rich family, like let's say multimillionaires, as the sum of their liquid capital is at least more than $2 million, for example, it will be extremely hard for the kids of those people to get really broken. I mean, like homeless, etc. They can suffer financially even if they are not extremely good at their job, if they are not grinding enough, if they are lazy, etc. But also the chances for that to happen are lower. And I can assure you that because rich people are getting better coaches, better trainers, all that stuff. They can afford it, and I'm seeing that happening in my daily experience. It's most of the entrepreneurs. First of all, if you're an entrepreneur, you can start badly. You can start in a way that you don't actually feel you can win big time. You can earn big time from your business for like years, maybe. I don't know. I got a little bit lucky with my first business, but let's say it's possible. Yeah, okay. But then again, if you can continue being an entrepreneur, if you feel it, because I think really that there are people that don't like entrepreneurship. They are not made for that. I didn't believe that for like many years. I didn't believe that, but it seems so. There are people not fit for that task, especially if they're on the top of it, if they're the people in charge, because you can always make a business and actually deploy someone to be your CEO, to be a senior manager working for yourself, to manage stuff. And you still don't need to be on the top of that hierarchy if you don't feel you can afford that. But if you want to have business, still you can, even without the skills, the hardcore skills of the person that is organizing people, processes, etc. It's possible, but it will be the decision to become a successful entrepreneur and not to give up, because that's maybe the number one rule of the entrepreneur. No matter what happens, don't give up. If you just follow that rule and you're relatively intelligent, relatively, most probably you will be, as a person that decided to be an entrepreneur. And I mean it takes some courage, some skills, some intelligence to even decide being an entrepreneur and doing that real time. I mean, not just playing an entrepreneur, but being an entrepreneur. It takes much values, much virtues to actually even make that decision, if you ask me. It's not so easy. It's a hard decision. If you make it, I think most probably you're adequate enough to actually lead that to the point where it becomes successful. And you can believe me, even if you spend years on trying, having to work a little bit to generate more capital, struggling with the investors in your projects, with the sponsors, etc. At some point, you business partners, at some point, your staff, your team, etc. At some point, you see it's not so hard. It can happen, and you can understand that during the process. And at that point, you start literally commanding the wheel. If you make one cycle where you start earning and reinvesting, like a whole cycle of profiting enough from your product, from at least one of your products, that actually the investment, the reinvestment you need for innovations, for more copies of that product, etc., the expenses are actually less than the net profit. If you concentrate yourself on just doing that, it doesn't matter if it's for example $200 or if it's $200,000. Of course it does matter, but if you start doing that, if you do that once, if you succeed in that once, you can actually get the feeling what can happen. Because if you have net profit of $200 after you have reinvested in your product, then now you're selling even better because you know more about marketing, you know more about sales, etc., and you sell the second wave of the sales, the second literally time you start. How's that in English? Sorry guys, I'm struggling with the terms now. But you know, your second wave of the selling of your product will actually earn you even more, etc., and you can now make a second better product or third better product, etc. You can imagine, even if it's like the first time the net profit is $200, the second time it could become maybe $500, and you can understand with that cycle being always like that, you at some point will start earning so much money that you can't actually spend all of them. It happens naturally. You have to be patient and you will have to be ready with the struggling that comes before that. You have to be really like, you have to learn to spend less money. You have hard periods, most probably at the beginning, and even after several months, most probably for the most businesses several years, like 2 or 3 years, you have some financial struggling. You may be able to afford more, to spend more, but you wouldn't want to do that. You would like to focus on reinvesting most of your money in the future project until actually, oh, that's nice. I guess not the best, but I can actually use it. So when that happens, let's see. Oh, it's not bad, by the way. It's not good. So actually you have to focus on the target of earning more net profit that you are spending for the reinvestment in your main company. And believe me, that happens in several months more. In most cases that happens. If it's small time, if you're not investing like millions, it can happen in the several months. Let's put it that way. 5 months will be just enough. I'll tell. 5, 6, 7 months. That's the average period where you can actually stop losing money from your business and start earning more than you actually, after the reinvestment, you're literally earning now, because the reinvestment is the most problematic thing in business, if you ask me. Many people are earning relatively good money from their businesses, but they're not reinvesting enough, so practically their business starts losing like this potential, literally at the beginning. When that process starts, they're not reinvesting enough for innovations, and the business is just dying slowly. And the slower that that happens actually maybe the worst for the entrepreneur, because he or she is living the life, because some money are earned. Let's say you can earn for example like at least $5,000 per month, but in most cases you have to reinvest. Like if that's happening, you have, if you have a net profit of $5,000, $1,500, you have to reinvest in at least 2.5 to 0.8, but preferably like at least 3k, if you ask me, because that's not a very good profit still. Until you reach a profit of at least, let's say, $20,000 of net profit after all of the expenses, after wages, after everything, after taxes, only then you can afford to actually put money in your pocket. And if you do that for only a few years, like let's say 3 years, that's a profitable business. You won't struggle with money anymore ever again. Sometimes that process is not like the period is the most important. You can do that in, like I said, several months. You can do that in several years, but even if it's a decade. I understand some of you guys can't actually even imagine waiting, like being patient enough to dedicate a decade for that cause. I understand that many people are like more focused on instant gratification, and it's only normal. That's not even instant. It's like slow gratification, if you want to. But if you invest that time, none of your family, and think about it, your children, your grandchildren are actually, okay, that's strange, but are actually okay, but I don't know what to do now. Are actually you in the future. Like if you pass, you're living, you're far to them. They'll continue by somehow. It doesn't matter how much they believe in your exact cause, but that's the only thing you're really leaving behind if you pass. Your children and grandchildren, because your work is important. People will remember you for your work, but those real your real inheritance is the people you have actually given your passed your title to. Let's put it that way. It doesn't have to be very logical, but the people you are actually counting as inheritance of your will, of your, call it however you want. So practically you want to give them a life a life of abundance, a life where they choose actually, because that will become nearly impossible in the near future. You can trust me on that. You can check. You can make your own research. The things are not going better in social terms. They're going worse. In fact, they're going for the worst. It's not happening. That social justice that many people are counting on. That all of there will be equality. All the people will be a little bit richer. There won't be. I want that to happen, of course, we all want that, but it's not happening. The world is not going in that direction at all. I can say nearly at all. And you can think about it, but I'm telling you, do that now. Make the right decisions. Invest in business, invest in something. It doesn't have to be business, it can be a very good investment in skills. For example, trading is an option. Being able to trade is something that can always give you enough to live a good life and not care so much about earning money all the time, because you have just enough with just a few hours of trading per week. Like, it could be a few days, but 9 to 5 is not an option, guys. It's not an option anymore. Like, literally spending 40 plus hours it's actually maybe around 50 with all of the the way to work, etc., etc. It's 50 hours per week. You can't afford that anymore. It's not, even if you are even if you have a good salary, you can afford that for a few years, but you can't afford that for the rest of your life. And if you are doing that, actually you're literally giving your children, the ones that will come after you, worse chances, because you can't really save much money from that. It's almost impossible. At this point, it's almost impossible. Try to, but you can't save a million. You can't save even 500,000. Maybe 500,000, but it will take decades. Literally, you can check. And then what? Even if it's hard-earned money, even if you like buy a house or two in your lifespan, and actually that's your inheritance, that's your material inheritance. Even if you do that and pass that, it's not even enough for the next generations to be able to work whatever they want, because that is decided on a very early stage nowadays. You have to literally, your kids have to decide what they will become, like, I don't know, extremely early, and that's a bad thing actually. They don't, if they, for example, invent, literally discover some potential at a later stage, and they decide that they don't want to be, for example, physicians, but they want to start a business, for example, but you didn't do that. You have no skills. You have no real social power. You don't know many people. You don't have any connections. You can't actually meet them with investors, with sponsors, with people, with eventual business partners, with people with power, with resources. And then what? I mean, nowadays business is still easy, especially online business is still relatively easy. You can buy a business and it will work for at least a few years, and you can innovate and just reinvest its net profit. You can buy a business for as low as like $20,000. You can even borrow that money from the bank. It's not super hard, and then that business can be sold for at least 5 times more in only several years, because nowadays making business is still easy, but it's getting harder and harder. The competition is going nuts, going mad in most of the niches, so it will become even harder in the near future. So what are you doing actually? You're now, if you're not making business, if you're not investing in something that's making you smart money, literally, you're working less hours for more money, like literally. If you don't fix that for yourself now, at this point in history of mankind, your future self, and especially your kids, will surely suffer financially. And I don't mean that's necessarily connected to misery and very low standard of life. Even if it's average, average won't be so good in the future. Average is, we're losing the average, don't you see? You can easily understand that. Let's only say that rich people will become richer. Inventions and all that stuff that can be consumed will be even more and more services, more like products, more stocks, you know, that will expand and eternally. We have seen that happen. The biggest companies won't fail. Only a few of them, maybe in many years, only a few of them can actually rebrand entirely. I don't even think that they can actually go in bankruptcy, that they can't really be destroyed. Like that they can rebrand maybe entirely, some of them. But what do you get from that? I mean, even if that happens, the others will stay. So practically, those companies are eternal. Let's put it that way. The biggest companies in the world now are, first of all, they're a monopoly, and is that the right word? They have that kind of structure, or that eventually oligopoles, and they're literally monopoles, oligopoles. I mean, that's the word in Bulgarian. I have forgotten. Was it the same in English? Anyway, you understand my point. They're literally, they don't have real competition. They have competition, but it's not endangering them at all. Most of the times, their competition is so much less powerful than they themselves, that actually it's only in their favor. They are literally sometimes the sponsors of their competition, and they're like using it as affiliate of a kind. It's more complicated than that, but you can understand what I mean. So if you don't start thinking about that, if you don't start investing in that kind of, let's say, ideas, that kind of right moves, so to speak, now, it won't be easy in the future. It will become so hard and so harsh that so the rich people will become richer, and now the rich families will become richer, and now the rich families will have partially many of them will rule the world by somehow. They'll be government. Because even if they are not in the policy, in the official policy, even if they are not politics, they will, diplomats, etc., they'll still be ruling their niche, their companies that are ruling a certain niche. And now that's very important, because they'll rule the market, parts of the market, the local and the global eventually market, or they'll even have some family members in the policy, so in the governments. So practically they'll be so much above your crew, your family and friends, etc., that you'll be suffering from that you can't afford, like the common things they do daily. You can't afford them now, because now it's still like you're not driving those fancy cars, you're not having, but you still have a car, and the difference is not so big. Let's say it's not so big. I mean, if you're driving a good car, it still feels okay, but the difference is getting, let's say, bigger and vaster. So at some point you start to feel, or your kids, your grandkids will be feeling that difference in the standard, that difference in the lifestyle, that difference even more like you know, more sensitive. Yeah, they'll become more sensitive to that, because it will just be so much more than it is even now, that it can be just ignored, it can be avoided. You can't just let that pass by and not concentrate on it. It will be awful. Like, you have to literally be egoless. You have to be a total, like, you know, selfless person not to acknowledge and feel that deficiency of, you know, lifestyle and standard. Because even if you are in the middle, like if you are in the middle class, for example, you still feel dramatical difference between you and those on the top, the elites. And the elites will be more as percentage, more people will be elites in the future. So practically wherever you are living, except if it's a very small village or something like that, but most places you will be seeing those people that are so much wealthier than you, that you can't just ignore that difference. Think about it. Think about those factors. Think about, can you actually afford now literally losing what you can get? Like it's, if you are not working for yourself now, you most probably regret it later. Even if you don't regret it, even if you say my children are totally different people and I don't actually have the responsibility to give them whatsoever future, they'll have to work their way out. Think about yourself, your future self. But let me tell you something: by leaving your children without much choice in the 21st century, it will be at this point your kids, when they become like it matters where are you, at what age you are now, and factors like that. It depends, but let's say you're relatively young and your kids aren't born or are very small. Now it will be the middle of the century, the 21st century, when they're full grown. Let's speak, when they're making their own decisions already for several years now. And at this point, let me tell you something. If you don't do it, it will be much harder for them. So practically you are leaving them so little amount of a real chance that if they don't succeed, it will be only logical. I mean, only the smartest, the best will actually be like efficient enough. Will actually be able to think of a way to become rich if you become financially stable to the point where they can decide what to do with their lives, literally not to be fully dependent on the system, fully dependent on their salary, fully dependent on their job, etc., etc. Because we thought several years ago, I think we thought we have passed that stage. Now that society is a little bit better, but now I think we are understanding we haven't, and it's actually getting worse now. We had our moments of freedom for only several years. I would say it was like, I don't know, maybe 2 decades. It was relatively like everyone
get their chances if they're adequate enough. But I think we're past that. Now it's not like that. It changed for the worse already, and I think nowadays it's a little bit harder already. So practically, if you have to be better now to be at the same level of, like, let's say, standard overall happiness than it was back in the days before, let's say, only 10 years from now. In the past it was easier, it was still easier, it was easier to prosper by online activities. It was so many new things came to this world, and now they're only becoming more sophisticated, and of course they are progressing. There are many innovations connected to them, and practically that's adding value, of course, but it's only making it a little bit harder to prosper by them, and the competition is, like I said, already on a new level, something that most people can't actually afford to like put themselves in that challenge. Most people are not highly competitive, I can tell you that. Most people don't want to participate in such competition. So think about it. Think about your future self, think about your children. I am literally doing that in a gaming video. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. If you are by somehow watching this video, think about it. Nothing is entirely coincidental. Nothing. If you are watching and listening to that, if you are listening to those words, that means it has some meaning. Believe me, it has. If you make the right decisions now, if you haven't at this point, you'll be thankful to me and this video you are watching. Most probably random, like you came here and you think it's random, but if you're watching and listening to this, it means that can change your life. You have been seeking for that answer. You have been seeking for that for so long, and you need that second opinion. Now you can say, no, that's pure coincidence, and I'm here for my own reasons. I mean, I just clicked on that video, I wanted to watch a random video, to chill out a little bit, but now you happen to watch this exact video. That's 100% not coincidental, I can assure you that. So thank you very much, guys. I will see you later, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you think about those things, those factors, those like make the hard decisions, and start grinding now, start hustling, because I believe everyone that's here has actually that power. It doesn't matter, it could be, for example, science, it could be career growth. It's possible, but start grinding. Don't be hesitant, just do the right thing. You know what to do, you know what your targets are, and now you have to actually get closer to accomplishing your targets, to making closer to making your wishes come true. One day at a time, a little bit better each and every day, and I'm pretty sure you'll prosper. Thank you once again. Have a good one, and we'll be seeing you soon. Bye bye.